Good morning, you guys. It's October 5th, and over a month since I last developed
The Haunting of the Jill Wilson Family.
If you're new to the channel, then it's a horror game built in RPG Maker that takes many inspiration from home haunting films of the late 2000s and early 2010s. So, I haven't developed in a while, because I've been working on a fun series to celebrate the spooky month of October. It's called Game Dev Dissect. It digs deep into the design choices of the first game I ever made, Caster's Trap, and how I made them. Anyway, and without further ado, there's a lot I've gotta do. But for all of you, just sit back, relax, and enjoy. Good morning, dogs. It's 9:30 a.m. on a Sunday, October 5th, and in 2 weeks, I'll be moving. But that gives me a little bit of time to do a bit of game dev. It's actually been a while since I last touched the haunting of the Jill Wilson family, because all September I was just working really hard at Game Dev Dissect, which if you haven't checked it out, then please do. I put a lot of effort in those episodes, and I think you guys will be able to tell just from the effects, and I do think you will enjoy it. Anyway, after I move, I also have a work trip that will last for like 2 weeks. So, if you think about the numbers in total, if I did not do any game dev whatsoever, I will not have touched this in roughly 2.5 months. And that's a really, really long time for, I suppose, a break. I'm gonna try and do as much as I can and let itchio-TheOdie take it from there. I can officially say that I'm in the pit of coming back after a long break from game dev. Thankfully, it's only been about a month, but after I move and then my work trip, it'll be another month break. That's rough. Surely if you're watching, you've probably taken a break from game dev, lost motivation, and is probably wondering at the very moment if you can get back into it. In my opinion, the longer you go, the harder it becomes. It's only natural for people to kind of move on from hobbies or life activities in general. So back to the question, how to get back into it? The short answer is, you've just got to do it. The long answer is pretty much what you see me doing right now. The first thing I do is playtest. I see where I last left off. Thankfully, I was strategic with my game saves, so I get to rewatch some of my latest cutscenes, go through the gameplay, interact with all the latest interactions, and compare it to the notes and scripts that I created long before I created the game. With this, I'm roughly in the same mental state from before I took the break. Now the last thing I need to do is go back into the game engine, see what the latest events were that I created, which ones still need completing, and if there are any switches and variables I created, see if any of those need to be closed out in terms of game progression. And with all this, I'm now caught up and prepared to continue working. An hour of testing later, and I gotta say, I did a pretty good job with where I left off. A lot of things have been completed. I do remember now, I wanted to do like 1 or 2 more hauntings, Easter egg hauntings. And then after doing that playtest, I saw that there was a handful of either grammar changes I wanted to make, or just like little effects I wanted to add. So overall, not so bad. I think I can manage that by next weekend, and then that'll put me in a good spot to start the next big thing. Alright, and as for the rest of the day, I do have a card game tournament to go to, so hope I do well. It is yet again Grand Archive. Keep those fingers crossed. Trust me, this is how it works. This is how it works. I did not win the tournament last week. I bet it was you. You didn't cross your fingers. But it was a rather small turnout. It was only 8 people, 3 matches. I won the first 2, lost the last one. Anyway, it's a brand new week, brand new day, brand new 9 o'clock a.m. So let's hop into more game dev. For today's plan, I'm going to work on the next act. It's a relatively small act, and it's more so just a conversation between Charlie and Mary where they close out some of the things that happened the night before, which all had to do with Maisie. It's been like a month or two since you guys last saw that devlog, probably, so probably forgot about that. But it was a hefty night, very terrifying moment where Maisie locked herself in the bathroom and they found her there. So I'm gonna dish out that cutscene, and then for the rest of the day, I actually don't have any plans. I'm actually staying home for once, and it's mostly so I could start packing. And on that note, you guys want to do a little tour of this apartment before we say goodbye? I think it would be fun, so something to look forward to after this dev session. Roughly, we are halfway through the game at this point, and the formula for the game is ready to change. The player had the chance to roam the house, first as Maisie, then Charlie, then Mary, but it's come to the point where they already seen every room of the house. The interactions are no longer as fresh, or new as it was, and giving the player the opportunity to roam as Charlie again would make it rather dull. It kinda goes behind the whole idea of repetition I mentioned in one of the previous devlogs, and I also dove deeper into this topic in the 3rd episode of Game Dev Dissect. Anyway, we're also beginning to shift on the focus of the game. I want the player's attention to be directed towards the scenes, and most specifically, the haunting that will take place with the family. If you enjoyed the first haunting with Maisie, then I think you guys are going to enjoy the next hauntings that will take place. Things are about to get quite terrifying. Full hour later, and I am 3/4 through this cutscene, or more like I finished putting it into the system, but there's a lot of things to test and a bunch of graphics to create. And you know what? Man, I forgot how long it takes to do cutscenes. Like, one of the things that you gotta consider is, do you want your player to be in the cutscene or just somewhere else on the map, invisible, stationary as the cutscene plays out? So for example, the scene is mostly just Mary and Charlie talking off in this corner, and originally I decided to put my player right here, invisible, and then let them do their dialogue and movements around the screen. This way the screen stays stationary, but towards the end, and according to my script, which I did not realize until I made it all the way towards the bottom, is that I wanted the Charlie to then become the player and move down and out of the room. So what that means that originally I wanted the player to be invisible and right here. Well, now I'm going to have to make the player as Charlie and just slide the screen over preemptively before the scene takes place, and he will just move off, and then the screen won't slide into place as the player becomes centered. Hopefully all that made sense. Oh man, I'm starting to realize how dirty my mirror got, or more like how dusty it is. Anyway, I still gotta add that, where the player is now Charlie instead of invisible and in the middle of the screen. But right now I want to chill, because I also got a couple of graphics to create. I realized that Mary, who's washing the dishes, needs to put on her day 2 clothing. And then I want to have Charlie just relaxing, kicking back against the counter while he chats with Mary, just because I find these little intricacies to give the game a lot more life. Also, not to mention that while I was scripting this out, I realized there is a place where I could do a callback to the tea party, and I was like, ooh, this would be pretty good, even though it's like a very small minor detail. Again, the small details. Alright, you guys want to have a tour? Let's go on a tour. So, here's the office in all its glory. Yes, this is indeed where the magic happens. I swear, the first time I moved, my friends saw this and they were like, "Is this where the magic happens?" And my response was, "Yep, this is where the magic happens." I swear there's a bit of cringe every time I reply, and even when they said it, but for some reason, it's just that thing that has to be said. Anyway, let's move on. Here is pretty much everything else you're going to see. And that's where I pour the coffee. Yep. This was where my science experiment was. Where you guys watch me eat food. This leaning thing is where you saw the Anya and other decorations that you've seen in the B-roll of some of the intros. And this is the window. Pretty much every time I show something outside, that's the view you get. Or maybe it's that's the view you get. But now that I'm moving, I don't mind showing a little bit more of it. I will say though, the one thing I will miss most is that when the sun sets, it sets in this direction, and it just has this very, very nice summertime look to it. It's yellow, orange, blue. It just screams like lemonade to me for some reason. That's probably the one thing I'll miss most. And that's it. We're back in the office. Back in the office means back to work. As previously mentioned, I want to make Charlie just lean against the counter while chatting with Mary. The scene itself is meant to dive deeper into the happenings of Maisie's scare, but also build a relationship between Charlie and Mary. But all that aside, I want to talk about my design choice for adding art here. During cutscenes, I always find the scene to be too stagnant and the characters to be too stiff. Like if they were just facing each other and lines of dialogue played, it gets boring real quick. It's like reading a slideshow without any animations and very few changes in pictures. You know that one saying, how little goes a long way? Yeah, I think it definitely counts here. Here he is. Man, I gotta say, making your body all crisscrossed, like with your legs and your arms, it's very difficult when you have so little pixels to work with. But I like to say, he's got the basic image down. Alright, I think this will cover it for this devlog. I've managed to progress myself far enough so that when I work on it again, I'll be working on the next act, which will be very, very intense and heavy to work with in terms of the haunting. But for now, I got a whole bunch of stuff still to pack. And I think I'll give you guys a sneak peek of the new office by the end of this video, and even this scene that I've built. Alright, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Till then, later. And quick tour time. Here it is, here it is. The office in its fullest. It's pretty much 90% of what it was before. The only real difference is that the portraits got swapped around. But this is pretty much what the lighting will be like going forward. Are you guys proud? I finally cleaned my mirror. Same good old PC. With a couple of different knickknacks up top. Of course, I am a major Genshin weeb. And Godzilla. I think that's a whale? Not exactly sure. Kinda just started putting it together and I was like, oh yeah, this pattern's kinda cool. Ironically enough, I do not play Union Arena competitively, but I do enjoy Demon Slayer, and I do love the Bandai card arts. This is new though. I am missing one. Lost somewhere in the packing boxes. Hoping it shows up someday. And this is the future of what you guys will see.
Hmm.